Welcome to On The Beat, everyone. I'm over here with the man, the financial guru, everyone, from Financial Concepts, Scott Ferguson. We're talking about saving for the next generation. How are you, buddy?
Doing good. How are you doing?
I am fantastic. You always give us great information. Now, do you believe it is a given right that parents should be saving for their kids?
You know, as a parent, I can say that, as a parent, I want to save for my kids.
Yeah.
And I think most parents want to see their kids' future better than their own future, right?
Okay.
And so there's many different ways to go about it, though, but it's kind of a thin line, right? You don't want to oversave for your children and not save enough for yourself.
And do without yourself.
That's right. So it's a fine line of making sure that you're not doing too much one way or the other. You got to balance it out, and that's hard.
Okay, so I guess I've never expected my parents to give me anything. I never expected anything when they passed away. I don't know why I feel like that, but I also have friends that feel like that. Then I have also other mates that expect everything from their parents when something goes down. Or do we put too much pressure on our parents to make sure they're leaving stuff for us for the future?
It's a tough question. I don't know. I think that you got a lot of different folks thinking a whole lot of different ways.
Yeah.
I myself, I'm like you, right? I want to work for it, but I've got young kids. I want to make sure that if they want to go to school, there's going to be assets that can be there to help them with those kind of things, and just get them set on the right foot financially.
All right. Well, give the parents at home a couple of tips on what they should do, especially when they've just started out a family. They've got a couple of young toddlers.
Yeah, you got some young kids.
Yeah.
You want to save for their future, but you got to balance that out, right?
Yeah.
So, do we want to save for education, or do we want to use a type of account that can be used, for anything, right? Because an education account can only be used for education. And what I always tell folks is with our children, if they're 2 or 3 years old, we don't know if they're going to go, all the way through college or if they're going to do something else. So I don't want to tie up a whole lot of assets in an education account unless I'm quite certain that those children are going to use those dollars.
Is there a tax reason why we're calling it an education?
An education account, right? If you put dollars into an education account and if you use it for education, any growth that happens is tax-free. Now, you don't get a deduction on it. There's no tax deduction.
Wow.
But if you put money into it and let it grow over time, you take it out tax-free. But the issue with an education account is if you don't use those dollars for education, and if you use them for something else, you're going to be taxed and penalized on the growth.
Gotcha. What about gift account?
So a gift account is different. A gift account can be used for anything, but the issue is there's no tax benefit with it. You don't get any kind of tax-free growth, no deductions, anything. So you've got to kind of balance between those two and choose which route that you want to go.
How much would you be suggesting we be putting aside out of our gross pay?
That's right.
What's the common denominator there?
There's not a common denominator. I'll use this analogy. I always tell folks, from a parent standpoint, especially if you're an older parent and you've got grown children, the biggest fear for a parent, I would think, would be is those grown children knocking on your door saying, "Hey, Mom and Dad, I'm going to move back in," right? Parents don't want that. So, but it can start very early. The parent can set themselves up to be in that situation where they may have to go knock on their children's door and say, "Hey, Mom and Dad are moving in with you," right? Because they may have not saved enough for themselves and they may have saved too much for their children. So you've got to balance it out. Work with your planner and make sure that your plan accounts for, am I saving enough to achieve my retirement dreams and goals? And what's left over can I be setting aside for my children to help them reach their dreams and goals?
I got you. Because look, as you just said, and we want to make it clear that you said we all do want to save for our kids because we don't want them to maybe have struggled like we may have. And I get that. I get it. So let's give the young parents out there a little bit of advice. Where do they start when it comes to making sure they want to put something away?
Start thinking about what it is you're wanting to help your child achieve, right?
Okay.
Are you wanting to help them achieve college costs, right? Because college is very expensive. Do you want to be the parent who's going to help them pay for those expenses? Or do you want to think about, I want to make sure that when my child gets out of high school or gets out of college, that they've got some sort of a nest egg to kind of get started on, right? To learn good financial footing from the get-go. Do we want to help them with a down payment on a first home or something like that?
Yeah.
What are we trying to help them with? Then can determine which accounts we should be using, and then we can determine how much we should be saving to help them reach those dreams.
All right, if you want to find out more about Financial Concepts and this amazing man, Scott Ferguson, there it all is up on the screen. We'll be back after this short break.